Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Genghis Khan, Napoleon Bonaparte, the end of the four great conquerors. Alexander the Great, a man who wept not for the world he conquered because it wasn't enough. After expanding his empire to cover over 2 million square miles, Alexander sought only one thing: to conquer more. For 10 years, he led his army fearlessly into battle, as if defeat was not an option. His soldiers, tired from constant warfare, begged to return home to enjoy the riches they had won. But Alexander cared little for wealth or ruling. His sole passion was conquest. That passion took him to India, where he faced his most difficult challenge against King Porus. The fierce battle cost Alexander many men, and he himself was reportedly wounded, while his beloved horse died. Still, he pressed forward, but on the other side of the river awaited another vast Indian army, fresh and ready for battle. His weary men pleaded with him to end the campaign. For once, the king who listened to no one was forced to comply. This marked the beginning of the end for Alexander. Known for his heavy drinking, Alexander overindulged one night and fell seriously ill. His opportunistic generals, sensing their chance, gathered and asked, "Who will inherit the empire?" Alexander famously replied, "To the strongest." This triggered a 50-year war between his generals, splintering his empire into pieces before it could truly unite. For Alexander, it was never about Macedonia. It was always about Alexander. He eventually became paralyzed and was pronounced dead. Strangely, his body did not decompose for 6 days, leading some to believe he was a god. Modern scientists, however, suggest he may have fallen into a coma, hearing his men's plotting as he lay helpless, buried alive. Julius Caesar, an admirer of Alexander. Caesar reportedly burst into tears after reading about Alexander's conquests, lamenting, "At my age he had conquered Darius, and I have achieved nothing." Like Alexander, Caesar was self-obsessed. He declared himself dictator perpetuo, dictator for life, and wasn't shy about it. He famously stated, "If you must break the law, do it to seize power. In all other cases, observe it." Fearful that Caesar sought to establish a monarchy, a group of 60 Roman senators assassinated him on March 15, 44 BC, stabbing him 23 times. His last sight? His adopted son and trusted ally, Marcus Brutus, among the attackers. Genghis Khan, the medieval conqueror who expanded his empire twice as large as Alexander's. Unlike Alexander or Caesar, Khan didn't see himself as a god. He saw himself as a tyrant, and proudly so. He once said, "The greatest happiness is to scatter your enemy, drive him before you, reduce his cities to ashes, and take into your bosom his wives and daughters." Accounts of Khan's death vary. Some say he fell victim to the bubonic plague, while Marco Polo claimed he was shot while on horseback. Another tale suggests he was castrated by a princess he had taken as a concubine. Regardless of how he died, Genghis Khan's death was kept secret by his followers as they fought their final conquest. His funeral procession, a closely guarded secret, resulted in the deaths of anyone who crossed its path. Napoleon Bonaparte, perhaps the most brilliant of the four. He rose to power with artillery, mastering the art of war in an era where the battlefield became his canvas. Napoleon once said, "I love power, but it is as an artist that I love it." His memory for detail was legendary, and he orchestrated victories across Europe with astonishing precision. Yet, his ambitions led to bloodier and bloodier conflicts, culminating in his defeat at Waterloo in 1815. Captured by the British, Napoleon was not sentenced to death, but exile. He lived his final years in isolation, clinging to his former glory. Even in captivity, his dinner parties required military dress and evening gowns. In 1821, he died, uttering his last words, "France, the army, head of the army, Josephine." His final thoughts were for his country, his military career, and his first wife, Josephine. Though these four great conquerors died under different circumstances, Alexander fell to illness, Caesar was betrayed, an arrow claimed Khan, and Napoleon perished in captivity, they shared one thing: they all died still desiring more.